Good afternoon, people. So today is Friday, the 11th of April 2025. And I come over today to be able to express a vision that a pastor had, John W. MATUTIS of Germany. He actually described how we're heading over to a place where there'll be the proliferation of crime, our welfare and infrastructures are going to collapse, and life is going to be very difficult for so many people. So the Bible actually explains that to Habakkuk that basically God told him that you should record the vision on tablets, that the herald may actually go around and publish the news of what is going to happen for the future of Israel, that the vision will not delay itself, for it will speak for itself at the season of when it's going to manifest. So John MATUTIS is given this elaboration of God calling for a mobilization, calling for a war to actually happen over our souls between two kingdoms, the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of God. We actually see these things as God actually wanted to bring a reset over to the world. He wants to be able to push back the workings of the Antichrist, and he's mobilizing an army to do those things. So he also says that we're going to see the plagues of Egypt actually coming before the world to push back the Pharaoh that's actually trying to hold people captive, to be able to build up a one world government whereby the most powerful economy in the world is actually the prominent government of the world, whereby everybody has to submit to his ideals and be able to sustain the economy that this country actually has. And at this moment in time, people will say that Babylon is actually America, because America is the most prosperous economy in the world, and we see Donald Trump actually wanting to make America great again. So it's all about people actually obtaining their freedoms from the bondage that God has actually put us into, whereby we are not free to do whatever we want, because His Spirit is warring against against our flesh, so that we cannot do what we want. There is an order about how you could be successful, and the spiritual realm is actually designed to be able to correlate with the decisions that you're making in order for you to be very prosperous in this time. So people actually cheat in the spiritual realm. They come over and they steal from other people in order to be successful. So these proliferations of crime that is actually here, the Lord actually expressed to me when I was actually working in a bank, that the initial process for this crime to begin to happen is actually in the realm of fraud, and Nigerians call it 419. They call it scammers. People who are scamming people for their assets, people who are scamming people for their savings, people that are scamming people for their income. So that's where the first initial part of the proliferation of crime is actually happening, whereby people are rebelling against the structures that God has already reset upon earth in the way of how we should be successful. So when Jesus Christ was actually on the Sermon of the Mount, He laid a foundation as to how people can be in right standing with God and be according to his will, because we see that the will of God is not the promise of God. The will of God is the demand of God. It's the requirement of God in order for us to be able to obtain the promises of God. So when we are actually talking about the will of God, we're actually talking about behavior, character, and conformity to God in thought and in speech. So when we are actually dealing with these things over here, and people are rebelling against these structures, it's going to destroy the infrastructures of our world, and it's going to cause our welfare system to be out of line. So what we are actually are looking for is actually if these things such as fraud has always been tolerated in the system, whereby people actually turn a blind eye to fraud and money laundering, and basically people ignore those things. People don't actually concentrate, so they cannot see the consequences of what's going to happen if these things actually continue to happen. How does money laundering and fraud actually affect our economy? First of all, money laundering. Maybe I don't have enough information on this, but money is a scarce resource, and if people do not actually comply with the sustainability of the economy, there's going to be an imbalance between those people who are rich and those people who are poor, and this is going to actually manifest in a much more a proliferation of crime actually occurring because people are trying to survive. There'll be thefts, there'll be adultery, there'll be coveting of people's property. So there is a chain reaction of one sin that can lead to another sin, that can continue leading to another sin. And what we are actually trying to do is that we're trying to watch what God is actually saying, and we're trying to adjust ourselves for what's going to happen in our lifetime. God actually said that these things have been initiated by the financial crises, not just the financial crisis that happened in 2008, but also the crisis that's happened before. So there's also a chain reaction. There's a path that the world is heading over to that will get the world into bondage, that will actually cause the world to actually owe the government some money and be taken as slaves by the government to be able to serve the purposes of building the Tower of Babel. So what do we have to do in this time? We have to be able to get out of debt. We have to get out of debt. We have to pay off our debt. We have to control our debt. We have to be able to earn more money than we can actually the money we've actually spent on seeking external help. When we talk about a trade deficit, this is where the country spends more money than is actually earned in this economy. So there could be debt is not necessarily always a bad thing, but when you actually have your debt out of control, you're going to collapse as a nation because you cannot pay back the amount of money that you borrowed to sustain the economy that you're in. So that's the reason why there's a lot of problems with the world power that there is today, America, that once America gets into trouble, it causes a chain reaction in the economy because America actually is the reserve currency. So if the currency actually begins to inflate, then there's going to be a problem. But I know that I have to be able to study these things very, very well so I can be able to explain those things. But one thing leads to another. So thank you very much for watching my video today. God bless you today. I just want you to just think about how God is actually calling for a mobilization call for his church today, so that his church can come together and begin to start dealing with their problems and begin to start getting more freer from this world, to be able to be people that owe a debt of love to the world instead of them owing any other debt or having any obligation to the world.